So we are talking about piecewise functions today. How many of you remember graphing piecewise in Algebra 2? Okay, that's more than in my first period. No one in my first period thought they'd ever heard of them before. So, okay, a few of you have those. This is what piecewise graphs look like. They are literally in pieces. Okay, so that's why they're named that. We're going to start with just finding the domain and range of the graphs that I'm giving you here. All right, guys, so domain, we start on the left and go to the right. So how far to the left does this one go? -6. And it looks included, right? So bracket -6. And then I go along and I see a hole here, but does that x value get accounted for down here?
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't actually skip anything. I just end over here at what, 5?
Yeah, 5.
Okay, with a bracket again.
I hope this is as hard as it gets.
Yeah, do you like it so far? Pretty good. Good class for a Thursday pep rally day. Because -6 is as far left as it goes.
Oh, you're trying to. Oh, right.
That is domain. All right, guys, range. So where do we start for the range? Bottom. Always go bottom to top, okay? So down here looks like, what, -3? And then I work my way up. I know I have a hole, but do I really skip the y value?
No.
No, because it's over here. All the way, it looks like the top is up there at 6, I think, yeah. Sometimes I cannot count on the screen. Okay. Questions on 7? Okay, number 8. Let's do this again. Domain, all the way to the left. What do you see over there at the left?
Arrows.
Ooh, so what do you think that means? Negative infinity. Okay. All right, as I work my way across, like you should just take your pencil and start over here and slide it across the paper. And then when you get to a spot where you're like, huh, I have 2 holes that line up. I must be skipping something. What am I skipping? -2. So it's negative infinity to -2 with a parenthesis. Because I'm skipping it. Well, if it's filled in, I wouldn't even have to mention the -2. Because it would just keep going. Okay. And then I start again at -2. Where do I end? Infinity. Okay. Range. I start at the bottom. So what's the lowest it goes? Negative infinity. Good. Okay, now again, take your pencil and just move it up your paper. Okay, yes, I see a hole here, but you guys see how it's filled in? Like there's a gap here, but it's all accounted for over there. So it just goes all the way up to, what is it, 6? I'm counting right, or 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And that is with a bracket. Okay. Okay. Pretty good on our parentheses and brackets. Okay, number 9. So how far to the left do we go? Negative infinity. Slide along the paper. Stop somewhere, right?
Yeah, but that's an okay start.
That's an included stop, yes. But it still stops, right? There's like a gap.
You have to write anything stuff?
Yeah, because if you look at it, when you go across, it's like, okay, it ends here, and then it jumps over to this part. So I can't include the values in between those 2 sections.
Okay.
So I'm going to go negative infinity to, yes.
You need
Okay, bracket 1, 2, 6 with parentheses. Okay. All right, bottom to top. What's the lowest this one goes? -4 with a bracket. What do you think? Infinity, that's it. You don't actually skip anything. Okay? Questions? Turn the page. There's 3 of them at the top there. I would like you to do those 3, okay? 11, 12. And I know the range on number 10 is a little weird.
I like these.
You like these? Good. Feel good about these? I know I saw your email.
Okay.
I will email it to you.
Okay.
I don't have it downstairs.
They like this one. You look at Korea. You look at the major Korea.
So if it gets included anywhere, then it's included. It's kind of like, oh, that fills it in, that accounts for it. Just okay.
Yeah. But I wanted to come back because I don't like any of it myself.
All right, guys, let's look at these. Okay, what did you tell me for domain for number 10? Perfect. And you had a parenthesis on -2? Okay, good. Oh, -1. All right, domain on the first one, we good? Okay, range on this one. What is the range? Okay, if you say, so yes, that's one way to do it. If you said this, why is that not okay?
Because you can't do
Well, -2 is one of the values, but this is implying that it's every value in between -2 and 3. Yeah, is that what's happening? Like, are all of these y values have a graph on them? No. Isn't it only -2 and 3?
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple ways that I would accept this. Wow, that's a gigantic eraser. That almost says -infinity. Okay, I would take it if you did that. Okay, I walked around, saw some of you did that. Yep, I would accept that. That's telling me the individual value of -2 and the individual value of 3. I would also take, you guys remember when we had a graph that just had dots on it, and you had to tell me the domain and range? How you did like a squiggly bracket and just listed what those dots were? I would take that also, okay?
No.
Wait. You do bracket -2, comma -2, bracket -negative.
That's not really proper notation. Yeah, just do the first one.
It's actually short.
I would even take this if you wanted to do squiggly brackets. Like, that's also correct. Okay. So many options for you. All right, so we good on 10? Okay, 11, domain. What is the domain for this one? Yeah, it actually covers everything, right? It's got all these holes, but it doesn't matter. Okay. What about your range? With a parenthesis, right? Okay. Easy peasy. All right, one more. This one is just section for you. So what's the domain? Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay, and then range. Just keep going with it. Okay.
-1, and 2, 6 for the 2's parentheses.
Perfect. All right. Yes.
What's the number 11? What do you do? I did the domain of each individual line.
So.
Realizing now that it's actually includes it.
Right. 'Cause yeah, you see. Well, I have a bracket on this, but then I'm skipping it here. But I have
But
a
like
bracket
it's just,
on it.
it's just they're all brackets.
You would lose a little bit if you do it that way, because it just shows me that you're not recognizing that it's actually all real numbers. So, okay. All right. So domain and range of piecewise, not bad, right? Okay. Now we get to actually graph piecewise functions. There are lots of ways to go about graphing. The way I'm going to show you today, I think, is the simplest way. It's definitely the easiest if you're doing lines. Next class, we get to spend more time on piecewise, and we'll look at some other ways to do it when they aren't actually linear equations. But we're going to start with a very simple method when you're doing lines and piecewise. Guys, if you have multiple colors, I think it's helpful when we do the piecewise so you can see like which one came from which equation. Guys, we're actually going to start on number 14. We'll come back to 13, but I just like doing 14 before it. Okay, guys, please stick with me on this. This is not bad if you pay attention. Okay, I will show you a very easy way to do this. Some of you last year may have graphed like the whole thing and then erased whichever part of it you didn't need. We're not going to do it that way right now. We are going to figure out where this starts and which direction it's going. So do you guys see how this says x is less than or equal to -1? Okay, so the first x value I'm going to care about is a -1. So I'm basically just going to make some ordered pairs here. If I plug a -1 into that top equation, what do I get as my y value? -3. Ben, David, come on guys, you gotta pay attention. Okay, plugging in -1 gives me -3. Then to figure out which direction we're going, I'm just gonna follow the inequality. It says less than -1, right? Okay, so give me a number less than -1.
-2.
Okay, so I'm going to plug in a -2. What do I get? -4. Okay, we have enough now to graph that piece of our function. So I'm going to start at -1, -3. Do you think that should be an open or a closed dot? Closed. Why? Yeah, it's got the or equal to, so it's included. So that's my starting point. Then what's my second point? -2, -4, right? So from the starting point, that's where I begin, connect through, there's my first line. Do not go the other direction, okay? It does not extend all the way across your graph. That -1, -3 is the end point of your line. So you find that, connect through the other one. Then we're going to do that again with the second equation. So, I know it doesn't say or equal to, but we're still talking about when x is -1, right? In this one, you guys see that? Whatever number is here is where we're going to begin. So I'm going to start by plugging in a -1 to that equation. What do I get when I plug in -1? -1, right? Okay. We can go ahead and plot that first if you want. What do you think? Open or closed circle? Open. Now guys, only that endpoint could be an open circle. Nothing else on your graph is going to be open. Okay? All right, then the inequality says x is greater than -1. So I need an x bigger than -1. 0. What do I get when I plug 0 in? Okay, so 0, 2. That's my second dot. Start from the first one, connect through the second, and you're done. Okay.
How do we get this number?
Pick a number greater than -1.
Oh, okay.
You didn't have to use 0, but it's just easy. Okay.
Why is only the endpoint useful?
Because it's saying all x values greater than -1. So -1's not included, but anything bigger than -1. You're not going to have any other open spots on that graph. Yes.
So,
In this case, both of them ones are your like starting number,
Mm-hmm.
and then you take that number, you go to the left, you just plug -1 in with that. Where's that at?
So I plug -1 in, because that's like where it tells me to start. Okay. I plug it in, I get -3. Plug it in right here. So -1.
Y or is it
X is -1. -1 minus 2 is -3. That is your y value. Okay. So I plotted that point first. And then I follow the inequality. It says less than or equal to -1. So I picked the -2. Yep. Plugged it in, got this other y value.
and then plug that?
Plotted that. Start at the starting point, draw through the other one. Don't go the wrong way, because then you'll mess up your graph. And then you just repeat it for the other. Okay?
Is 2 points okay for all of them?
2 points is totally fine. 2 points make a line. Learn that in geometry. Okay? Again, take your time, stay organized with it. What?
We do one more.
Oh, we're doing several more. Yeah.
But like, as practice, like.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to go through several more together. Let's do 15 together, and then we'll go back and do 13. What looks different about 15? Okay, fraction. What else?
Well, there's like, it's
And
in
they're not
between.
arrows.
Yeah, so what that means is instead of a line with an arrow on the end,
Like lines with points.
you're going to have like endpoints, right? Open or closed, we don't know, but it's going to stop somewhere, okay? It's almost easier because it tells you, hey, these are the x values you need to plug in. So I'm going to start by plugging in a -4. What do I get when I plug in -4? Okay. Should that be open or closed?
open.
Good. My board is blue. Okay. Do you guys see how it then tells me what my other endpoint that I should be plugging in is going to be? 2. Yeah, so I plug in 2. What do I get when I plug in 2? Okay. Is that open or closed? Closed. And then what do you think I do with those 2 dots?
How do you guys close just one?
It says or equal to, then it's closed. Okay, so there's my first line. All right, so what am I going to use in the second equation? 2 first, okay. What do I get when I plug a 2 in? 2. Is that open or closed? Open. Cool. And then what's the other number I plug in? 6. What do I get? 4. Open or closed? something to pay attention to. When you get done with your graph, do you notice how these are functions? Like they aren't crossing each other. They're not like both going the same direction. That's something to look for. If you finish graphing piecewise and you have something that is like here and here, you messed up, okay? They can't overlap like that. They will not be going the same direction, okay? Yes.
And then, like in this case, on X2, one's closed and one's open. We'll never have two closed.
Right, yeah, like, so these will never both be closed. Yep. Okay, let's go back to 13. What's weird on 13 is that you don't actually have anywhere to plug in your X value. So we still can make points based on that, or you can just think about what the line looks like. If we try to do it the point way, what X value should I start with? 3. Okay, what is my Y value going to be? -4. Yeah, there's just nothing to do with it. Okay. Let's go 3, -4, open or closed? Open. Then it says give me an X value less than 3. What would you like to do? 0 works. And what is my Y value?
-4.
Still -4. Because what kind of line is this, guys? Yeah, it's just a horizontal line. If you just see that, go ahead and just graph it. If you're like, I need the points, then here's the points. I don't care. So that's my first line. Second one, again, if you want the points, I start at 3. What's the Y value going to be? 2. Filled in dot this time, right? And then it says X is greater than 3, so
The line went that way.
yeah, you can either plug in a point or you can just go, okay, I know it's going to the right. Okay? All right, try 16. I only want you to try 1 and then we'll go through it together just to make sure you're on the right track. If you're stuck, let me know. Again, tons of ways to actually graph these. This is just a pretty simple, like, methodical way to go about doing it, okay? And we'll get into more interesting graphs next time. Today's the basics. You like that?
Don't like that.
You don't like that, okay.
So, you know, the paragraphs that we have, all of those.
It would only be like
Usually it's absolute value, quadratic, or square root. Let's see. Perfect. Not bad, right? Separate issue, right? Including the video is up for 9. That would be bad. And it's not a function. You're starting point.
we get like that meeting. So like this was like it was and it was also so it's gonna be
Did you get it there? Oh, you mentioned it.
yeah, so now it's gonna be wise as opposed to
Close. Let's lie on it first. So 32 is 6. All right, guys, let's go through 16. All right, so I would start with the x value of 3. When I plug it in, I get 4. And it is a filled in dot. Then it says less than 3, so I'm going to pick something smaller than 3. I'll pick 2. That gives me 2. And I go that way. Second line, I start with 3. That gives me 2. Open. Bigger number, I go 4. It gives me 1. There we go. How did you guys? Walking around, it looked like most people were pretty close. Yeah? Okay, try 17 and 18. If you didn't get 16, raise your hand so I can come help you. And yes, 18 does have 3 pieces, okay? We're almost done here.
after that.
This is you. Just the whole day. Okay?
I can't even do it.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't do
You did this.
it. Sorry.
Action.
Right here.
Action. Oh, is it?
That's
You
right.
were digging around in a bit.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's the x value is equal to 3 and y value.
We already did 16.
So it's like a horizontal line.
Focus on this.
So you can make order pairs up there. The next is -1, what is y? It's y. It's y. Okay. X is equal to 1. That's done. Then, okay. So that's that horizontal line. Okay. No, only the endpoint can be open. The other will never be open, okay? That looks good.
We can do like
Yeah, you're like. Yeah, so it's really like, okay, I've got a hole that gets filled in. And then the next is 3. And now you're done. Ah, no. So one kind of like filled in the other, right? So this, and then this is over here. See, it's next to this. It's just horizontal line. Makes sense. That's just what it is. It's like here, okay. You plug in 0.
Oh.
So that's why, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Right. You get a bell? Good. 18 is into a vertical line. And the external cross is also So this was open, right?
But that doesn't apply to this one, because the control is underneath.
-1.
Since they're on one.
Glad you came back to life.
They're all pronounced, they all yeah. What's less than that, so it's less than that.
Make sure you've got that. Unless it stops, like if it's one that actually is important. All right, guys, let's look at him. (17), I start at 3, and that gives me -1. And that is filled in. I want bigger than 3, so I'll do 4. Gives me -2. There's my first section. Okay. Guys, the middle one, a lot of you were thinking like really hard about that. Don't make that hard. It's just a little horizontal line, and it just tells you it's between -1 and 3. So from here to here, it's just a horizontal line. You can make the endpoints if you want to. And yes, your open circle ended up on a filled in circle. That's okay. All right, then our last one, I start at -1. I get -1, so I'm filling in that dot. Make sure you pick a number that's actually smaller than -1, okay? Like -2, which would give me -3. All right, so that's your graph for 17. How'd we do? Okay, that one looked pretty good walking around. All right, 18.
If we're doing that all in pencil, is it okay to make both of those dots fill in?
Yes. Yes, definitely. So -2 gives me 1. Open. Pick less than -2. So -3 would give me 0. Going that way. All right, in the middle one, I've got endpoints. So when I start at -2, I get -3. That is also open. And 0 gives me 1, which is filled in. I think this one's just weird looking. Then I start at 0, 5. Open. Bigger than 0, so I'll use 1. 2. Okay. How'd you guys do on 18? Okay.
For the middle one, you just have to make it into an arrow.
You can't make the middle one into an arrow because it says it only goes from -2 to 0. So you need to find the two endpoints and then just connect them. Okay? Yep. Okay. That is the end of notes, guys. Any questions? So, again, we do get 2 days on Piecewise.